You don't have to be as old as I am to remember when the streets of our towns and cities were relatively litter-free. Yes, we had a certain amount of urban decay from the generations before. I'm not saying we lived in some kind of wonderland where all the shop fronts were shiny and painted and the windows gleamed in the sunlight and happy children ran around in pristine pressed clothes. The pink knees, scuffed and blooded with the fun they'd had. No, you know, it was just as it was, but one thing we didn't have a lot of was rubbish, thrown wantonly all over the streets. Packaging that you only see, or have only seen over the last decade or so. I remember when we used to go to the market with my mum, and we'd get things in a paper bag, and then that paper bag when you got home would either be used again or used to light the fire. So you don't have to be as old as I am to remember when the streets of our great town looked a lot different than they do today. You do have to be as old as I am to remember when women were out, because women, as it usually was, donkey stoning the steps, actually scrubbing the pavement, cleaning the pavement. There are photographs out there showing the women, working class women, scrubbing the pavements clean outside the houses because they had this almost pathological need to keep things clean, to show to the neighbours that they were clean and kept a clean house. And it was pride. And I think that's what it was. It was pride. Where has the pride gone? But they'd be out there donkey stoning the steps till they gleamed, scrubbing the pavement. You didn't see litter. And if you did, you'd bend down and pick it up. It was different. God, I know people are going to say, oh, listen to this old boomer farting on about what a wonderful world it was. But I'll tell you what, it was a damn sight better than it is now. You didn't have people running in and out of the co-op, nicking goods at will. And there was poverty then. People would be saying, oh, well, people can't afford to eat. There was poverty then. There were no handouts like there are now. There was real poverty then. And theft wasn't as big a problem. Not saying there wasn't crime, there was lots of crime. And a lot of that was probably down to austerity and poverty and frustration. But the streets of our beautiful towns just didn't look like they do now. One of those things is this council's obsession with bins and commercial bins on wheels. They're the most untidy, useless piece of article going, because you fill them up, the council don't come to take them away, then they overflow, then the black bin bags are all over the floor, then you've got rats and mice and the cats are going through it, and all this adds in one great lovely melting pot and ends up as the decaying town centres we now have. I suppose I sound like I'm being a bit hyperbolic, and I am, because I get really frustrated about things like this, and I do get comments in my videos saying, oh, grow up, it's not a problem. No, nothing's ever a problem, is it, until it becomes a problem. It's only a little thing. It's only a little thing until it becomes a big thing. It's becoming a big thing. But we're diverted, because there's more problems in the world, there's more problems in this country. We've got all sorts of things going rampant at the moment. But people are aware of it. People are aware of our decaying town centres and city centres, because you do hear it on the news. It isn't pressed by the mainstream media, because they've nothing to gain out of it, have they? They can have an opinion, but they've nobody to bash. They've nobody to cancel. You can't cancel a community, so the mainstream media don't want to know about it. It's frustrating, and we all have to live with it. Glass in the street. I had to go out about 3 or 4 months ago and chase off a bunch of kids smashing bottles in the street. I have to walk out there. My dog has to walk out there. I spend my time walking down the street looking for glass on the floor so Molly doesn't stand on it. I mean, I'm working class. Well, I like to think I'm working class. My dad was a headmaster, so we were, suppose we were considered lower middle class. We lived in a nice area and we went to decent schools. But I didn't do what the rest of the family did. I didn't go to university. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do in my life, and I've done what I want to do in my life, and I'm happy with that. But decisions I have made along the way. I had my first house when I was 20. By the time I was 50, I had nothing. I had a business. I lost that because I had a heart attack and a heart bypass. Then I got cancer. And it meant that I lost everything, and now I'm just living on my pension and renting. And I'm renting in an area that is nice. It's a lovely little town. It's good, and I've got lovely neighbours. The house is lovely. You know, it's near the countryside. I don't have any countryside. I can't see any countryside out of my window, but I can step out into it within a couple of minutes of leaving the front door. And it's nice, but for the litter, the broken glass, people running past with baskets full of food and stuff that they've pinched from the co-op. The local druggies about a quarter of a mile away walk past my house in the haze every day. I will get out as soon as I can. Once Molly's gone, I will disappear. And I'm going to disappear somewhere as far away from everybody as I can. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the litter. And it's just it's another sign of a breakdown. There are signs of breakdowns in society, aren't there? Little things. I think littering is one thing, antisocial behaviour is another. You know, there are little signs. Then you get like people, double yellow lines, just parking on the curb and then falling out with anybody who pulls them up about it because they can't get the pram past. It's little things like this, isn't it? Breakdown in society. Where will it end? I won't be around to see it. I wish I could be. But the rest of you will have to cope with it. And if you're going to come on in the comments and tell me that I'm just a scaremongering old bugger, carry on. Because I'll tell you what, I'm right. I'm on the right side of history. So there you go. So what do we put this down to? Because things certainly have changed. I don't think anybody can deny that. And it's changed over probably half a century in a big way. I think there are lots of nuances about it. You can't just put it down to a breakdown in discipline and society. That's just an easy cop-out. I think one of the things is packaging. We've got these black bin bags now, and if you go anywhere that's fairly industrial or commercial, they're the main scourge lying about, the black bin bags, because they fill them up, put them in the bin, then the bin fills up, then they put them next to the bin, then the bin men come, but the bin men refuse to take anything that's not in the bin, so they're left. And it's not the bin men's problem because the bin men live elsewhere, it's the residents' problem. But then again, you can't blame the bin men because they have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. Otherwise you'll have people expecting them to take mattresses and bedsteads and all sorts of things away. So that's one thing. I do think that discipline has something to do with it. When I was a kid, seeing somebody drop litter was like a cardinal sin. It was something you just didn't see at all. And they get called out. You would actually, even us, and we were rum little buggers, so we didn't give a toss, but even us would pull somebody up if we saw them chucking litter because it was just so unacceptable. But that became the norm, slowly. And now it's quite, you just see kids and adults just throwing rubbish on the floor. And they're probably the first to complain about it. A lack of pride in the neighbourhood, a lack of pride in your houses. I think that is a thing, actually. People may have pride in their own house, within the house, or within the garden. But I think once outside that, people have an attitude nowadays that if it's nothing to do with me, then I'm not going to get involved. So when you see this with people getting assaulted in the street, nobody wants to know, nobody wants to get involved. So it's like, well, it's nothing to do with me, so I'm not going to bother. When bending down and picking up a piece of litter takes a second. We used to go out when I was a kid and we'd take sweets out with us and we'd come home with our pockets stuffed with sweet wrappers, because that's what you did. Whatever the cause, whatever the reason, I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I don't think it's going to get better. When things kind of go off or go bad like this, they never seem to come back, do they? Because the public psyche, the human psyche, just accepts that as the norm. So that becomes the norm, and you only complain when the norm gets worse, and the norm will get worse. And it's a shame, and I don't know what we can put it down to, but I know it's here. I know we have to live with it. What do we do? You can only do your bit. It's when places in the country of natural beauty, there are national parks, places like the Cotswolds, places that are getting more and more people moved into them by the government in large numbers. And I think we all know what we're talking about. That's not going to help. People who have no allegiance, people who have no history, people who have no connection, you can't blame them really for failing to assimilate as well or as quickly as we expect them to. And I'm trying to be sympathetic here, but I think that's another cause, or it will be as time goes on. I don't know if we're going to get over this. I don't like seeing it. I hate seeing it. I hate seeing litter in the street. It's depressing. I remember when streets were immaculately clean, women out scrubbing the steps, people picking up litter whenever they saw it, just kind of a natural reaction, just to pick litter up. I hope it does get better, but I can't see it. We can all just do the best. Don't litter the countryside, please. Anyway, see you on the flip. Peace and love.